Welcome back to the Bloodbeard channel. In this video, we'll be doing Genesis chapter 7. Continuation right there. And, I mean, I understand these ones don't do very well, but I enjoy making them, so I'm going to keep making them. This one, I think, is just more of a continuation about Noah's flood and stuff, and the stuff like that. I think this is when it actually floods. So I guess we can just go ahead and jump in and start reading. What was I going to say? I was going to say something first. Right, yeah. So I understand that these don't do very well. That doesn't really matter to me, because eventually if somebody does watch them and they don't, just trying to learn more about the Bible, and this helps them, be closer to God, then that's worth it for me right there. So, anyways, let's just go into chapter 7 here, Genesis chapter 7. I'll go and read this now. The Lord then said to Noah, "Go into the ark, you and your whole family, because I have found you righteous in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal, a male and its mate, and 1 pair of every kind of unclean animal, a male and its mate, and also 7 pairs of every kind of bird, male and female, to keep their various kinds alive throughout the earth. 7 days from now I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and I will wipe from the face of the earth every living creature I have made." And Noah did all that the Lord commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the floodwaters came on the earth. Noah and his sons and his wife and his son's wives entered the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Pairs of clean and unclean animals, of birds and of all creatures that move along the ground, male and female, came to Noah and entered the ark. I understand I'm looking up here. That's where my monitor is, so I can actually read this, entered the ark as God had commanded Noah. And after the 7 days, the flood waters came on the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day of the 2nd month, on that day all the springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened, and rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On that very day Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, together with his wife and the wives of his 3 sons, entered the ark. They had with them every wild animal according to its kind, all livestock according to their kinds, every creature that moves along the ground according to its kind, and every bird according to its kind, everything with wings. Pairs of all creatures that have the breath of life in them came to Noah and entered the ark, the animals going and were male and female of every living thing, as God commanded Noah. Then the Lord shut him in for 40 days, and for 40 days the flood kept coming on the earth, and as the waters increased, they lifted the ark high above the earth. The waters rose and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the surface of the water. They rose greatly on the earth, and all the high mountains under the entire heavens were covered. The waters rose and covered the mountains into a deep depth of more than 15 cubits. Every living thing that moved on land perished, birds, livestock, and that moved on land perished, birds, livestock, wild animals, and all the creatures that swarm over the earth, and all mankind. Everything on dry land that had the breath of life in its nostrils died. Every living thing on earth on the face of the earth was wiped out. People and animals and the creatures that move along the ground and the birds were wiped from the earth. Only Noah was left and those with him in the ark. The waters flooded the earth for 150 days. So that's Genesis chapter 7. And my thoughts on this aren't very prevalent. There's some things that you can see. So obviously the fish lived, right? Because it's just water. They live in water. So the fish lived. All the fishes lived. Although it's an interesting thought. Do freshwater fish live then? Is there still freshwater there, or does it all like become seawater? Because obviously the whole planet gets flooded, right? So would it become seawater, or would it become freshwater, or would there still be those separations? I don't know. But it's an interesting thought, because like freshwater fish can't necessarily live in saltwater, right? And vice versa. So because saltwater fish need the salt in the water for something, and freshwater fish can't have salt in their water, right? So that's just interesting to me. But yeah, obviously the fish lived, hence them not being on the ark. But the birds, obviously, how this would be layered, you'd have the fish on the bottom, then there would probably be like the land animals and the mammals, because they would die first, right? Because the water would land animals and plants, I guess, because they would die. Because fish would be on the bottom because they're at the bottom of the ocean anyways, so they would stay there. They're below sea level, right? And then you would have, I guess technically fish could be anywhere in there, because it obviously goes above the mountains. So that's probably why we find seashells in places like deserts, and on top of mountains there's like sea creatures, fossils in there. But yeah, and then we'd have mammals would all be dead on that layer, and then lastly you have birds, because they would fly until they get tired and then they'd fall in and die, right? So they'd be on top. Anyways, I know I talked about like the resting place of the ark, where that's theorized to be on Mount Ararat in Turkey. Obviously there's not absolutely conclusive proof, because that's like never anything. Like, you never get that in archaeology anyways, because you have to go through the documents and stuff like that. And then like that's how you have historical documents. If a person's mentioned so many times and the source is reputable, like if it's like a philosopher or something, then, or like a historian of that time period, like you have military documents and stuff like that, then those are trustworthy documents, so then they would be considered to have been alive. And Jesus is the most proven, by the way. He's the most proven historical figure through texts and stuff. Anyways, where was I? Yes, the flood. So there's a lot of... I know one way that people try to disprove the Bible is saying that it's like, even with all the rainwaters and the glaciers melting, it still wouldn't be enough water to cover the entire surface of the earth. But yeah, but literally it says... where was it? Where it says that it springs up, the water springs forth from the deep. That's what I'm trying to look for right now. I don't know what exact verse it is. Yeah, right here. Verse 11. In the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day of the second month, on that day all the springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened. So the floodgates of the heavens is probably going to refer to the rain that rained down for 14 days and nights. But the springs that burst forth from the deep, that burst forth, is always talking about the underground, the water that's stored underground. And if you calculate that, if you include that into the total water that we have on Earth, it easily can cover the entire world and go up above the highest peak of our world, like, pretty easily. We have plenty of water to actually have a flood, and there's also, I would say, plenty of evidence to suggest that there have been a massive flood throughout the world, pretty much. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I wouldn't say that there's much more to go on here to really talk about that I haven't already talked about, and that might be the same for chapter 8 as well. But yeah, honestly, this is one of the stories in the Bible that I find that I like the best, because it's pretty cool how it just floods the entire earth. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all of the history of the Bible until up to this point, just gone. So all of Adam and Eve, they're gone. Everybody's gone pretty much, except for Noah and his family. So yeah. Anyways, that's going to be it for this one. I'm going to continue doing these chapter videos occasionally. So yeah, and I guess I'll see you in the next one.